Hey, this is the Roses 1722. We're going to listen to a book called Make Way for Ducklings by Robert. And I'm going to pause it throughout the video and ask questions. So here we go.
Hi everyone. Today's flip along is Make Way for Ducklings by Robert McCloskey. Mr. and Mrs. Mallard were looking for a place to live. But every time Mr. Mallard saw what looked like a nice place, Mrs. Mallard said it was no good.
What did she say? It wasn't no...
Yeah.
Yep. She seemed to not be happy with it, didn't she? Okay, let's keep going. We're going to stop in between like this, okay?
There were sure to be foxes in the woods or turtles in the water. And
What would be in there? Foxes?
Turtles.
Turtles, yep.
she was not going to raise a family where there might be foxes or turtles.
Seems like she's scared of foxes and turtles so far, don't it? You can talk. Seems like she's scared of foxes and turtles, right? Yeah. Because she don't want to be around them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they flew on and on. When they got to Boston, they felt too tired.
Where did they get to? Was it Boston or Australia? Good job.
To fly any further. There was a nice pond in the public garden with a little island on it. The very place to...
What was on it? Was it a beach or an island? Yep, good job.
spend the night, quacked Mr. Mallard. So down they flapped. Next morning, they fished for their breakfast in the mud at the bottom of the pond. But
what did they fish for? Their what? Not their butt. Stop, Maddie. Their breakfast. Behave, please.
They didn't find much. Just as they were getting ready to start on their way, a strange, enormous bird came by. It was pushing a boat full of people, and there was a man sitting on its back.
What was the man doing?
He's sitting on his back.
Sitting on his back. Good job.
Good morning, quacked Mr. Mallard, being polite. The big bird was too proud to answer.
What does it mean to be too proud to answer? Well, no. Too proud to answer means he thought he was too good for everybody to answer.
But the people on the boat threw peanuts into the water, so the Mallards followed them all round the pond and got another breakfast, better than the first. I like this place, said Mrs. Mallard as they climbed out on the...
Miss Mallard, she finally found a place that they like. I wonder if Mr. Mallard agrees. What do you think? You think he's... You don't know. What do you think's going to happen? Do you think he's going to like it too, so far? You hope so?
The bank and waddled along. Why don't we build a nest and raise our ducklings right in this pond? There are no foxes and no turtles.
Remember, she didn't like foxes and turtles, but in this area, it seemed like there wasn't any. So is that a good thing or bad thing? Good job. It's a good thing, huh?
And the people feed us peanuts. What could be better? Good, said Mr. Mallard, delighted that at last...
Yeah, peanuts. I guess that's what they eat. That's crazy, huh? And cool.
Mrs. Mallard had found a place that suited her. But... "Look out!" squawked Mrs. Mallard all of a dither. "You'll get run over."
Oh no, they had to watch out for kids on bicycles to make sure they didn't get ran over. Uh-oh.
And when she got her breath, she added, "This is no place for babies, with all those horrid things rushing about. We'll have to look somewhere else."
So it was almost a perfect place, but the traffic she did not like.
So they flew over Beacon Hill and round the State House, but there was no place there.
Oh no, I hope they find a place, don't you?
They looked in Louisburg Square, but there was no water to swim in.
They can't find no water. Everybody needs water, like plants. We need water to survive. Birds, some birds need water to survive, because some of them, they eat different things and drink different things.
Then they flew over
Yep.
the Charles River. "This is better," quacked Mr. Mallard. "That island looks like a nice, quiet..."
So, Mr. Mallard found one he likes. I wonder if Miss Mallard will like it as well. So far, it seems like he likes it, but let's see her thoughts.
place, and it's only a little way from the public garden. "Yes," said Mrs. Mallard, remembering the peanuts. "That looks like just the right place to hatch ducklings." So they chose a cozy spot among the bushes near the water.
So far, it seems like they both like it. Do you think it's going to stay that way? Them both like it? Or you think something's going to come up again that they don't like? What you think? You don't think so? You think somebody's going to be unhappy or something's going to come up? Well, it's okay to have your thoughts, but let's see what happens, okay?
And settled down to build their nest, and only just in time, for now they were beginning to molt. All their old wing feathers started to drop out, and they would not be able to fly again until the new ones grew in.
Molt means to have their, I believe it means to have their feathers to come out, because it says the sentence around it says they can't move until their feathers come in. So that's what I think molt means. Basically, molt means to have their feathers come out because they have to sit still and can't fly until they get their feathers grown back in.
But of course they could swim, and one day they swam over
But even without their feathers, they can still swim according to the book.
to the park on the riverbank, and there they met a policeman called Michael.
What was the policeman's name? Michael? Yep, good job.
Michael fed them peanuts, and after that the Mallards called on Michael every day.
Oh, so they stayed there for a little bit because Michael, the policeman, gave them peanuts. That's cool. So we'll see what happens next.
After Mrs. Mallard had laid 8 eggs in the nest, she couldn't
How many eggs did she lay? Good job.
go to visit Michael anymore, because she had to sit on the eggs to keep them warm. She moved off
She has to do what? Sit on the eggs to keep them... Good job. And to help them to hatch.
the nest only to get a drink of water,
Yep, she has to
or
help
to
them.
have her lunch, or to count the eggs and make sure they were all there.
Y'all, that weird noise you hear, it's Bella snoring in my lap. She's laying there sleeping, just so y'all know.
One day the ducklings hatched out. First came Jack, then Cack.
What was the first one's name? No, that was the second one. Jack was the first one, then Cack.
And then Lack, then Mac,
And then Jack. Jack, Lack,
and Knack, and
and
Whack,
Knack,
and
and
Pat,
Whack.
and quack.
And quack.
Mr. and
Seems like all their names kind of rhyme a little bit.
Mrs. Mallard were bursting with pride. It was a great response.
Do you know what it means to burst with pride?
No.
It means like they were happy, like very joyful, very excited. Like, yay, we got a new baby. Yep, smiling ear to ear. Yep.
Responsibility taking care of so
Yep,
many
we got
ducklings.
8
And it
babies.
kept them very busy. One day, Mr. Mallard decided he'd like to take a trip to see what the rest of the river was like further on. So off he set.
Oh no, he left everybody behind. The dad just went off and did his thing.
I'll meet you in a week in the public garden, he quacked over his shoulder. Take good care of the ducklings. Don't you worry, said Mrs. Mallard. I know all about bringing up children. And she did.
Ooh, she's very smart. Ooh, goodness, that's a lot of animals to take care of. 8 at one time. Could you imagine 8 Bellas when she starts getting into stuff? That'd be all crazy, wouldn't it? You can talk when I pause it.
She taught them how to swim and dive.
What did she teach them to do? To swim? You know what dive means? To go down?
I have.
What?
To go down, I have water.
Yep, to go all the way under, huh?
What is
Like you jump in and go down and be underwater. That's what it means to dive, basically.
She taught them to walk in a line, to come when they were called.
What does it mean to come when they're called? Does it mean, you know, like if you're outside playing, and I'm generally like right there looking out the window, but I'll be like, hey Maddie, time to come in. So she's trying to tell them, hey, follow me, right?
And to keep a safe distance from bikes and scooters and other things with wheels.
You gotta watch out for things. You know, like I tell you, gotta watch out for cars and vehicles and stuff, and you don't go with anybody you're not supposed to go with. That's what she's pretty much telling her ducks, ain't she? Same thing?
And we have had her written the out away.
Yep, good job.
Yes.
In her house yard.
Yep. Okay, that's good that you got out of the way. Good job.
Hold in.
Yeah, so they can pull into their area, right? Good job.
When at last she felt perfectly satisfied with them, she said one morning, "Come along, children, follow me." Before you could wink an eyelash, Jack...
What does it mean to wink an eyelash? Kind of like blinking or winking? Like you wink like, hey.
Hey.
Cack, lack, mack, knack, whack, pack, and quack fell into line
How many ducks did she have again?
8.
Good job.
just as they had been taught. Mrs. Mallard led the way into the water, and they swam behind her to the opposite.
What does it mean for her to lead? It means they followed her, huh? Do you know what opposite means? Basically to like the other side
Bank.
in this situation.
There they waded ashore and waddled along till they came to the highway. Mrs.
Oh no. In the picture, it's already showing us a bunch of vehicles, so they gotta stay with Mom. I hope they're okay. Do you think the ducks are gonna be okay? I hope so.
Mallard stepped out to cross the road. Honk, honk, went the horns on the speeding cars. Quack, went Mrs. Mallard as she tumbled back again. Quack, 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 went Jack, cack, lack, mack, knack, whack, pack, and quack, just as loud as their little quackers could quack. The cars kept speeding by and honking, and Mrs. Mallard...
Why were they speeding by and honking?
I don't want to have our ducks.
Didn't want to hurt the ducks or the mama? Good job.
and the ducklings kept right on quack, quack, quacking. They made such a noise that Michael came running. Wait,
Who was Michael?
A duck?
No, he's a human. What was Michael? Do you remember? He was a police officer. They made so much commotion, in other words, so much loud noise, that the police officer had come and tried to save them. Because they were, like, going crazy. Going quack, quack, quack.
waving his arms and blowing his whistle. He planted himself in the center of the road.
What does it mean by he planted himself?
I have
What?
to win a ladder over 10.
Well, it could mean that, but it actually means to put himself in front of all the cars like, hey, watch out for these ducks, y'all. But also you can plant flowers.
Raised one hand to stop the traffic, and then beckoned with the other, the way policemen do, for Mrs. Mallard to cross over.
So he stopped the traffic so they could walk through safely. That was nice of Mr. Michael, wasn't it? Do you remember who Mr. Michael is? He's the
911.
911. Yeah, he's a police officer. Good job.
911.
As soon as Mrs. Mallard and the Ducklings were safe on the other side and on their way down Mount Vernon Street, Michael rushed back to his police booth. He called Clancy at headquarters and said, "There's a family of ducks walking down the street." Clancy said, "Family of what?" "Ducks."
Family of what?
Ducks.
Good job. They're walking where?
All have wings.
On the street. Good job.
Yelled Michael. "Send a police car quick." Meanwhile, Mrs. Mallard had reached the corner bookshop and turned into Charles Street with Jack, Cack, Lack, Mac, Knack.
So it seemed like they got across the road safely, but hopefully they stay safe. I've never heard this story before. I'm just guessing, y'all.
Whack, Pack, and Quack, all marching in a line behind her. Everyone stared. An old lady from Beacon Hill said, "Isn't it amazing?" And the man who swept the street said, "Well, now, ain't that nice?"
The man that's sweeping the street, what's he doing? Is he just cleaning up people's garbage, or what's he doing? Yep, he's cleaning up.
And when Mrs. Mallard heard them, she was so proud. She tipped her nose in the air and walked along with an extra swing in her waddle. When they came to the corner of Beacon Street, there was the police car with
What corner of? What was the corner of? Beacon Street.
4 policemen that Clancy had sent from headquarters. The policemen held back the traffic so Mrs. Mallard and the Ducklings could march across the street.
That was nice of them to help, but that's actually their job. Did you know
Right
that?
on into the public garden. Inside the gate, they all turned around to say thank you to the policeman. The policeman smiled and waved goodbye.
Aw, that was sweet. They went into the little public garden, which looked like a massive garden, didn't it? Do you know what massive means? Really, really big, huh? Yep. Good job.
When they reached the pond and swam across to the little island, there was Mr. Mallard waiting for them.
Who was Mr. Mallard? The ducks?
The ducks. Dad?
Yep, it was the duck's dad. Good job.
Just as he had promised.
They all met each other in one spot, didn't they?
The Ducklings liked the new island so much that they decided to live there. All day long,
Seems like they found one they really, really like. Hopefully they stay there and stay safe and get fed. It seems like peanuts, what they like, huh? Yep, I think that's what they eat.
they follow the swan boats and eat peanuts.
Oh.
Yes.
And when night falls, they swim.
Well, did you know peanuts used to make peanut butter, and there's different oils that you use that's like peanut oil for cooking? Yep, peanut oil.
To their little island and go to sleep.
Oh, that's awesome. They all finally found one that they all liked, that they felt safe at and could get fed and had water, huh?
I don't know if that's how to get water.
Yep. They need it to survive on, just like you need water sometimes. Not all the time, but some of the time. So what'd you think of that story? Did you like it?
Yeah.
Did you like how this lady read?
I did.
I don't even know her name. On her YouTube page, it says Brightly Storytime. So y'all go check her out. Thank you. This is Rosa 1722. Hope you learned something today and have a wonderful day.